What's up, everyone? Welcome to This Just In. My name is Justin Rosette. Today I'm joined by
DeCoud.
Yes, and so this show is going to be kind of a show for me where I get to interview and talk to people that I find interesting, people that I've met, that I've either known for a while, or people like Drew that I haven't known for that long, but I just find they have interesting stories, and I'm fascinated by it and want to talk to them more about it. So today I'm going to be talking to Drew, and the way that me and Drew met is I do journalism here at Cal State Fullerton, and last semester I was on the Titan Sports show for Titan TV, and Drew was the executive producer for the show. So for our first question today, Drew, I just wanted to ask, you can give yourself a little introduction, what you're doing at Cal State Fullerton, and then after that, you can talk about how was that experience for you, being a producer. How did that come about? How did you get into that, and how was that experience for you being an executive producer for Titan Sports?
Absolutely, and thank you, Justin, for that the introduction. My name is Drew DeCoud. I'm an MFA screenwriting student here at Cal State Fullerton. I'm in my second and final year now, so I'll be graduating sometime May next year. That's right, graduating at the same time. And my first on-campus job here was as an executive producer at Titan TV. So prior to that, I was, working at Cal Poly Pomona. That's where I did my undergraduate program, where I earned my degree in business with a minor in physiology. Mm-hmm. And I was the personal training supervisor at the rec center over there. Upon, transitioning to Cal State Fullerton, I knew that I wanted to put more emphasis on my filmmaking career, right? And, upon looking at the jobs that, this school had available, I was scrolling and I saw Titan TV, like TV production. Yeah. And I said, you know what? This isn't filmmaking, but TV is close enough, to where, I think I would get a decent enough experience there.
Yeah, you're still hands-on. You're still making decisions.
Exactly. Like still working with cameras, still working with lighting. You're working with not necessarily actors, but anchors, and hosts, etc. So, I figured it'd be a positive experience for me. And I think literally a day or two after my job at Cal Poly Pomona ended, I got the job at Titan TV, or they sent me the email saying that, hey, we want you to, come work here. And it wasn't as an executive producer. I applied for the director position because in my mind, I thought it was the same as like film directing, right? You know what I mean? But then, TV directing and film directing are different things, right? So I had to learn that. As I got into it. But once I met with with Nathan, who is the director of Titan TV, he kind of explained the different positions to me. And, he told me that, hey, maybe the executive producer position is probably, more in line with what you want to do in film or with who you are. And so he said, hey, do you still want to be director, or do you want to take, the executive producer position? I said, you know what, I'll just go and be an executive producer, right? Okay. And after that, I was dropped in. It just happened. I had never done TV production before. I had done like film stuff, right? Because that's my main focus. But I had to hit the ground running. One of my first tasks was to get us into the Newport Beach Film Festival.
So that was you that got Titan TV in there. Okay.
So, Gabby brought that up to me. Yeah, we're trying to get into this film festival. And I'm like, all right, like, who's the guy who runs it? What's his phone number? I'll just cold call, see what I can do. And we ended up getting in. So that was great. And then, of course, me being who I am, when, they saw that I was pretty muscular, I'm like kind of a more like traditional dude. They're probably like, oh, this guy would probably like sports. I wouldn't want to do a sports show.
Yeah, but you actually knew nothing really about sports.
I would say nothing, but my closest relationship to it is through bodybuilding. You know what I mean? And I mean, before that, I played basketball and ran track, things like that. But, I had never like really studied the ins and outs of sports. You know what I mean? But that's how I became an EP for that particular show. And then I also helped out with other shows like, Insider and In Focus, et cetera. So that's how that happened.
How would you say that experience I think for me, I couldn't really tell. Like at first, like didn't know you didn't know anything about sports because like to us, like we always like really appreciated you. I thought you were a great executive producer.
Thank you.
So Drew would be for being an EP. He was the one who like, I guess is kind of in charge of like the people that write. You wouldn't write the scripts yourself, but the writers would write. You kind of help them.
Mm-hmm. So you see a show through all stages of production, pre-production, production, and post-production.
Yeah.
Right. And you make sure that show gets completed.
Yeah.
Right. And that's essentially.
Yeah. So from my perspective, like, compared to like semesters before with Drew as our EP, we were trying new segments. We had like our big highlight segment. That was really cool. We were doing like, trying to grow the show a bit. So I really appreciated that, even though you didn't know a lot about like, because we talked about like golf, tennis, like a lot of sports that like, even I'm a sports guy, I don't know a lot about those sports. So I appreciated you. Also, it was last semester on Titan Sports, was me and my roommates, Colin, Sergio, and then our other friend, Jonathan. And so we all knew each other. It made it a little bit easier for Drew because we were all like cool already. But every time we would go to sports games for either the Daily Titan, our newspaper, or our internship, Drew was always there just on his own. Like as the EP, he already got the position, you know, so he could have just figured out, he could have asked ChatGPT, how does this sport work? But no, he was going to every game, day, night. Every time we're at a game, we would see him. So it was like, we could tell you were really trying and like really buying into that role. And of course with that came a lot of work. Like you're in the master's program, but you're also an executive producer. So a lot of that was like late nights, like sending us the scripts like late at night and stuff. But so how would you say that experience, it wasn't exactly what you wanted to do, but it was like, you got hands-on experience with producing still. So how does that relate to your major? Like take us a little bit through like your master's program and how Titan Sports EP ties in with that.
Yeah, sure. So like I said, my master's program is in screenwriting, right? So I'm mainly writing, TV shows, feature films, I'm studying scenes. And then we're also kind of looking into the business aspect of film and screenwriting, right? My main thing is just as a human being, if my name is on it, then I'm going to make sure that it's done right. You know what I mean? So that's why, even if, I had to turn in like, so many pages of a feature film script, the day of, say shooting a Titan Sports episode, I was still going to stay up till, and you got those scripts till 3, 4 in the morning, trying to edit those scripts. Right. And like I said, I didn't know the ins and outs of these sports. So it was a little bit more challenging for me to edit those scripts. Yeah. But I stayed up, I did my research and I'm like, okay, I'm going to try and, make this sound as entertaining as possible, but I'm also going to make sure that this information is as accurate as possible. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I did what I could by, going to the games, reading the stories and, getting some information about, how these different sports work, to just make the show the best that I could possibly make it, right? Yeah. In addition to, changing the banter from, all of it happening at the end of the show to now the banter happening, in between the stories, right? Yeah. So that way we're not, forgetting about these stories, right? You know what I mean?
10 minutes later.
You know what I mean? It's already tough that, we're putting out our episodes, a week or two after these sporting events happen, right? Yeah. And so I just wanted to make it as fresh as I possibly could. And then, adding in that big highlight segment because I figured, if you guys say make it to, ESPN or one of these bigger organizations, talking about sports, then you're probably going to have to be, looking at plays and, breaking them down and, definitely, making them as entertaining as possible. You know what I mean? And just kind of, going off the cuff, you know what I mean? Because you're not always going to have a script, you know what I mean? And so, as an EP, it's like, hey, man, I kind of put myself on the back burner a little bit and I make sure that, I'm giving you guys, the best that I possibly can. Yeah. Because your futures are at stake, right? I'm sure some clips from some of those episodes are going to be on your reel that you might be showing, you know what I mean? That you might be showing a company one day, right? Yeah. So my petty grievances or complaints, you know what I mean? Like that stuff goes on the back burner. Like, I had to stay up till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and then get up at 8 so that I could be on set. You know what I mean? And helping out. Like, oh well. You know what I mean? Oh well. I do what I got to do. If I'm a little bit late on an assignment, or I got to put in some extra hours to get my classwork done. So be it. You know what I mean? It's like you guys are my priority.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I really appreciate that. Like you said about using that professional experience, I went to a conference for journalism for my NABJ club, the National Association of Black Journalists, over the summer, and we were at because like all the big ESPN, like Fox, all the companies were there, and one of the at one of the like lunches, one of the things that activities ESPN did is they had like 3 students from the audience do like a highlight segment. And so I'm not gonna lie, I didn't do it. I was a little scared, but in my mind I was like, okay, when I come back next year, I want, because like I had that experience because of the big highlight. Like mainly the first one I was kind of scared, but the last one I did, I got more into it. I was yelling. I'm sure I could put a clip in there of that, but yeah. So I'm like, okay, like because Drew had this idea, like I have that experience a little bit, at least on how to like give a highlight and the pacing of it and like not going too fast, and also it's better maybe to not have a script, so that way you have to get through 30 seconds of text but you only have 20 seconds of video, like the matching it up, that kind of thing. So kind of going off the top kind of helps to do with that. So I appreciate you, me, Colin, Sergio, we all like appreciated you for that semester and like all the help that you gave us. And so I kind of wanted to take things back, because that's what you're doing like now, what you're doing now with screenwriting and you were EPing last semester. So I want you to talk a little bit about what you did in your undergrad, and then when did so you said your fitness journey kind of started in high school, or
yes.
High school? Okay.
Yes.
So we can talk a little bit about like that, and then like how that tied into undergrad.
Of course. Absolutely. Yeah. So sports has always been, something that has interested me, along with film, right? But, sports was there too. And, when I was younger, I would watch Space Jam all the time. So I love that movie. And then, I grew up in the Kobe and Shaq era. So, dude, come on now. Who wasn't inspired by Kobe? I remember being in 6th grade, dressed up in a Kobe jersey, doing a presentation on a book that was about, his life. You know what I mean? So, and basketball was big for me. When I got into high school, like everybody was from middle school was like hyping me up because like I was a pretty good basketball player, and and Corona Centennial, basketball is one of the sports that we were known for. You know what I mean? So, freshman year comes around, we have tryouts. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna make the team. I'm gonna be, what I mean? Life's gonna be great. I'm gonna be like a star athlete or whatever. Long story. I don't even have to say anything, right? I made the first cut, but I didn't make the second one, right? And that happened during the subsequent year too. And so I was like, oh man. So it felt like a piece of my
brought
like,
you back down to earth.
Exactly. Like a piece of my, like I almost like kind of lost a piece of my identity. And after that I kind of went searching, for, a sport that, might resonate with me. And so I remember trying out for the tennis team.
Tennis.
I remember playing volleyball for a semester. You know what I mean? I remember, I even ran cross country. I suck at long distance, but I did that. You know what I mean? And I was, in the IBAP program, so I didn't want to be just like, some nerd who, was unathletic.
What is IBAP program?
So IB stands for International Baccalaureate, and then AP stands for Advanced Placement, right?
Okay.
So
in my like in Sacramento where I'm from, they have like my school only had AP classes, but then there is one school near me that had like IB, and I always just heard like it was above AP, and I was like, how can you be above it? Because AP was already like. That's tough. So you were taking IB classes, AP classes?
Yeah, I had done the IB program since middle school, right? And, my parents were really happy about that. There were moments where I had like over 4.0 GPA and stuff like that. So that was really cool. But things started changing in high school. Sports was one of them. Then, also, identity too. You know what I mean? When it comes to, being African American, I'm not like the first kind of person, you think of, in that regard. And then on the flip side, when it comes to being a Louisiana Creole person, no one around me was familiar with that. Yeah. So I was the only one in that regard. I never had a Creole classmate, teacher, counselor, nothing. You know what I mean? And then, a lot of folks were like, you're African American too? It's like, yeah. And so they didn't really understand it. And so I mean, well, that starting from like elementary school, like things started to kind of build up.
Yeah.
But then, you know, when you're young, you're kind of still cradled by, I guess, what I would call ignorant bliss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Things might happen. People might look at you a certain way or call you something, but you're like, I'm just going to go home and play Pokemon or something. You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah.
But when I got into high school, that's when
those things started to hurt a little bit.
Because finding your crew, finding where you belong, that starts to become, you know, more important.
Yeah.
And for me, God, it was, it was really difficult to the point where, you know, my, you know, mom was trying to change like my schedule around, you know, we toured a different school and it was like, it was crazy. But I guess you can call it kind of my saving grace, happened when I was 15 years old, right, in 10th grade, when, you know, the two kind of, you know, more significant things in my life came to me. And those things were film and fitness, right?
F&F.
Yes, F&F, that's right, yes. Yeah. So with regard to fitness, right, I ran track in 10th grade, and there was one day, only one, when, you know, during the time that we would practice, the football players weren't using the gym. And so my coach said, okay, guys, we're going to go to the gym and work out today. And I think it was some kind of leg workout. And I remember afterward, like, just something clicked. I'm like, I don't know. I never really felt that before. You know what I mean? So that's when I got that first spark for fitness. And then when it comes to film, here's the thing. In the IB program, in 10th grade, you do something called a personal project, right? Where you can basically, like, you pick something. It could be anything, really, like painting, cooking, you know, singing, whatever it is, right? Whatever you wanted to do. And you did a project just based on that. And I decided to make a film. And I'm not going to get into the details of the film. It's kind of embarrassing.
Okay.
But that's when I made I guess you could say, my first film.
Yeah.
And I remember afterward, like, I think I stayed up like a week straight editing the thing. I remember just that feeling afterward that I got. Oh my God, it was like nothing else.
It was like I put all this work. Now I'm seeing it in front of me, seeing it kind of play out, that kind of thing.
That, but then like also like a strong sense of purpose.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like there was some like purpose behind it. Like it was like, I mean, me and, you know, the actors and whatnot, we were just like kids, teenagers and whatnot.
Yeah.
Just kind of like having fun. But I'm like, there's like something more to this. You know what I mean? That I can't quite put my finger on, and so I kind of held on to that significance. And I think I made like maybe one or two more films during my high school years for like little projects. And I'm like, man, like this is, I think this is what I want to do. Like that's why I knew I wanted to be a professional like filmmaker.
Yeah,
like that's what I want to do. But you know, that's kind of like a dream job kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you tell your parents you want to do that, and it's like, okay, all right.
What about your real job?
It's not, it's not so practical, right? So I had that, and then I also had this significance that stemmed from fitness, that workout that I did. And so I graduated high school when I was 17 years old, and I remember everyone was throwing up their hats. I was just walking straight out the gate. You
didn't do none of the
no, I didn't go.
Celebrating, we made it. None of that. No,
none of that. I didn't go to Disneyland or Six Flags. I didn't go to prom. I didn't do any. Yeah, like I said, it was kind of rough. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, all right, I know something's got to change, right? And so I think it was like, if I graduated on a Friday, then I started working out on Monday. Like I just printed out a workout routine from bodybuilding.com.
Wow.
I think it was from like, I don't know, Steve Cook or something you know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm just going to throw myself in the gym and I'm going to just start building momentum.
Yeah.
And that's how that started.
Wow.
2 years later, when I was 19 years old, that's when I did my first competition at Venice Beach. And I won that show. Yeah. 2 weeks later, I did a show in LA in Culver City, and I won that show. You know, both as a teenager.
We'll put up some video of those two shows. So,
of course.
I guess take me through your first show, Venice Beach. At this point, you've been like training. At first, I'm guessing you didn't think like I'm gonna be a bodybuilder. You just wanted to see where it took you, and then after those 2 years, you're kind of like, okay, wait, let me try a competition? Is that kind of how that went, or?
So how it happened was initially when I was when I started working out right after I graduated high school, I was just going to LA Fitness, using my dad's card. You know what I mean? And then eventually, I started paying for it. But and that was 2011, like the summer of 2011, right? And I think it was like a year and 3 months after working out, I transitioned over to the UFC gym.
Okay.
Right. I think it was for like my 18th birthday or something like that. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I think it was for like my 18th birthday or 19th birthday. Right. I transitioned over there. And then upon signing up, they were like, hey, do you want to do like a free personal training session? Of course, like most gyms do that.
Yeah.
I guess sucked into it because I'm like, I was still trying to learn about this pursuit. You know what I mean? So I said, you know what? Maybe I'll try it out. Right. So I was training with this guy for, I think it was about 6 months. Right. Mm-hmm. And I was also, in college at Cal Poly Pomona trying to do that. So a lot of times I would work out, you know what I mean? And then, take a shower, get dressed, and then, go to school. Right. After so many months of training, I remember my PT got fired for some reason, right? Mm-hmm. And it was 2 weeks before I was supposed to be preparing for this first show. Yeah. He was the one who actually brought up competing. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know if he brought it up because he actually saw something in me or because he figured that if I start competing, then I would have to see him more for more sessions. You know what I mean? He wouldn't get fired that way. That only occurred to me later. Yeah. That like, oh man, maybe that's why he brought it up.
Maybe he knew he was going to get fired.
Right. Yeah, but you figured if you're preparing for a competition, then you're going to have to be seeing your PT, more often. Yeah. And then they get paid for more sessions, right? Anyway, he got fired, and then I'm like, I had a choice to make. Either I continue on and do this competition and prepare it by myself, right? And get these little blue trunks, these posing trunks, and try and figure this thing out on my own, or just kind of call it quits and focus on getting through college. Yeah. I ended up, it was the blue trunks. I bought the blue trunks. And if you put the video up or picture up, everyone will see it. Yeah. It's fine. But yeah, so I remember that period was tough because, a couple weeks into it, I ended up getting the stomach flu. I was really...
Into training for that competition?
Yeah, into training I ended up getting the stomach flu for a little bit. I remember putting my gas in my car always being really low, and I'll put $5 into it to try and get back home from Pomona to Corona. So I was really low on money. Yeah. Meal prep was oh my God, it was so painful. Yeah. And my classes, keeping up with my classes. I mean, and then being frustrated because I'm I'm cutting and I don't have as many carbs in me and and still in college, still feeling like I don't fit in. I'm still not able to find where I fit. You know what I mean? So I'm God, man, I thought going to college would kind of change things. Yeah. That's a whole other story, right? Mm-hmm. Anyway, I make it to this competition. Yeah. You know what I mean?
19 years old.
Yeah.
Your coach got fired. First competition. Was it only your mom there?
It was just my mom, my dad, my brother, and my cousin.
Couple family members. Mm-hmm. It's really just you at this point. So what's going through your mind? Are you extremely nervous? Are you we'll just go out there, see how it goes? What's going through your mind during this time?
I'm really nervous, right? Because I'm an introvert, right? Yeah. And I'm pretty insecure, at that point because like I said, I had a tough experience, and I didn't get a whole lot of, social validation or whatever, things like that. Yeah. And so I'm this introverted dude. I'm kind of insecure, and I'm there at Muscle Beach in these blue trunks, everybody
in the beach.
Everybody, there are people on the gate, looking. Yeah. But you know what? Look, I had a decent physique for a 19-year-old who had been training for 2 years, who didn't know what he was doing. I still looked pretty good, and I was getting, a decent amount of compliments. One of the bikini girls asked me to put tan on her.
Okay.
So I'm okay.
So that was a big day for you.
Yeah, it was a big day. And yeah, so I was actually the very first person to walk out on stage. I'm like, oh my God.
You don't get to see how anyone else does it first. It's just you. Boom,
Yeah. But luckily I had YouTube, and so I was watching, the poses that we had to do. And, I wrote down my posing, just like on a blank piece of computer paper. I wrote down like my poses that I would do for the posing routine.
Yeah.
And I had my music by Ace Hood. And, what I mean? And I edited the music, put on a CD, and I had practice, hitting my poses to the beat. And I actually, worked out pretty well, and I got an applause on every pose I did. You know what I mean? I'm like, whoa, okay. You know what I mean? So for someone who didn't get like a whole lot of, validation, that was important for me. And I ended up winning that show.
Yeah. As soon as the tragedy happened, the person you call is God. Now people obeying and praying, I'm saying it's odd. It's the world, the government too. But keeping it real, them killers are still in political suits. And I hated his people, there's nothing my brother nor sister could do. But sit back and pray as we watching the news and we take the abuse. What train of thought is telling you shoot up a movie theater? What kind of fool gon' walk into school and off them angels? It could be my mom's, my brother or sister or friend that I knew. The funny thing is, it could have been me, it could have been you. I'm tired of people complaining about the little shit. When I just lost my grandmother to that cancer shit. You woke up this morning, why the fuck is you mad? You broke as a joke. Get up off of your ass.
So first show, you win. So like, what's kind of what's going through your mind after that, and how does that kind of catapult you forward into bodybuilding?
Yeah, so I was pretty hyped up, man. And then I got a jar of protein and some red posing trunks. You know what I mean? Yeah. And this trophy, first place. And I'm like,
oh, that was your prize? Protein and new
protein,
trunks?
some new posing trunks, and a trophy. Okay, and that was that. That was my prize. And then my parents took me and my family to the Fat Burger out there.
Okay,
you know what I mean? So
that was a great day for you.
Yeah, it was a great day. Because I was hungry. You know what I mean? So and I'm like, wow. Like I felt pretty good about myself. I'd been working hard for 2 years, and I do this thing that I'd never done before, and I did all myself, and I won. I'm like, wow. And so I'm like, I tried to find like the next show I could do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I'm like, I got to do this again. Mm-hmm. And so 2 weeks later, there's a show in Culver City, in LA, and ended up winning that one too, teen category. I'm like, oh man, this is kind of working out. You know what I mean?
Maybe I could do this.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
And even before my show, bodybuilding.com had done an article on me. It was like a transformation article.
Yeah.
And so I had that too. That was out. I'm like, oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gaining momentum. Mm-hmm. But then that momentum kind of stopped a little bit when I did my first adult show, because I had turned 20, and January 2014, that's when I did my first like men's show at the LA Fit Expo. And it was supposed to be a natural thing. And that's when I really got exposed to the fact like, okay, yeah, not all these guys are
natural.
And you can kind of tell, right? Some guys have like a growth hormone gut or insulin gut, and then they have the distended shoulders and traps and things like that. And that's when I got my first loss. I still got, it was like 5th place still. So like against adults.
How many people are there?
Oh, there's at least 10 to 15 at least, something like that.
So you're still the higher end of...
Somewhat, yeah. And I was only 20, and I was going against guys who were like in the mid 20s, 30s. I've been working out for a while. So, and not everybody was on steroids, but you can kind of see like, okay, not all these guys are natural. You're not natural, And they didn't drug test for that show either.
Yeah. Right? So it's supposed to be natural, but you kind of, people are abusing like they're not going to test, so I'll just whatever.
Yeah. Because they know that, a lot of people they just want to see something like kind of freaky looking, you know what I mean? And, a lot of these companies and organizations, they're a business. They want to make money, and they know that they make the most money off of the guys who look like really big and freaky. And of course I was never able to get to that point, but you know what I mean?
So I believe what time is your watch say right now?
3:51. Oh
okay.
wow.
Yeah. We can kind of just. So we were talking a little bit before this, and so you get a lot of opportunities doing bodybuilding. You move to like different companies and different things like that. But one thing that stuck out to me, and you can kind of touch back on it, is like people would tell you like if you wanted, you could. You said there was a guy that talked to you who trained like people that were making millions of dollars or people like that, and they were telling you like you can be on that level if you kind of compromise your morals in a way, right? By like doing those. So like there's like an alternate universe right now where you're the most famous bodybuilder of all time. You're making millions of dollars because you chose to do certain drugs and steroids and compromise that, but you never chose to do that. So why not? Why did you not make that choice?
One thing is I didn't want to be known for being muscular. Like I said, filmmaking was always like the big thing for me. And then I also had fitness that had some significance to me, right? And so I think the big thing for me was like, okay, maybe one day I can, use fitness as like a platform to, get into film. But I never wanted to like be like known, mostly for being muscular. So that's one thing. And then two, it's just like morally, it goes against my morals. You know what I mean? Like, when you're training and you use an exogenous substance like that, you don't know, how much of your results are coming from you, your own hard work and dedication versus, what's coming from, these enhancements, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? On top of that, I'm scared of needles. I don't even smoke weed. You know what I mean? It's like, drugs were never a thing for me. And I think, the greatest value in fitness is like sustaining your health. You know what I mean? Like that's most of the value is from that, right? Having muscle is great, right? It's fine. But the most value that you're going to get from fitness is sustaining your health over a significant period of time. And when you take, an exogenous substance, like testosterone or growth hormone or insulin, and you don't have any like serious health issues for doing so, then you're putting your health at serious risk. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm like being muscular and, having, winning these trophies and getting these accolades is not worth it for me. And being this, a big, muscular guy, it's like I don't want that kind of life. You know what I mean? So that's why it never appealed to me. But I mean, and that's why I kind of moved away from the NPC, and so I went to the Muscle Mania because they were said to be a natural organization. But there were some issues there, you know what I mean? So I'm like, oh my goodness, all right. And then I went to the WMBF, another natural organization, right? There are good people who are working there. But still, there's a lot fewer guys who are using stuff, but there are still guys. Yeah. And I'm like, you know what? It's just not worth it after a while. And then you become older and you're like, I'm on stage, flexing my muscles. I don't like, you know what I mean? Like the appeal, like isn't you, it loses its appeal. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, I stopped competing when, I think it was 2019 when I was 25 years old. And I'm like, okay, I was running my personal training business. And then later during my undergrad years, I studied physiology, got a minor in that, published some research, top personal trainers as a supervisor, which was really good. So I kind of delved more into the science aspect of it. Yeah. Which was good for me.
Yeah, I would say that's like massive respect. Just like being a young bodybuilder, having people tell you, I can put you on the level with these guys, all you have to do is compromise everything you've ever, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people, if you give them that opportunity of like, you can be the best, like someone that's a high end, I remember you said like an agent or something like that. Like I can get you here. You can be set. You just have to, just not, just do this. You just do these little steps. And the fact that you're willing to say like, no, like I'm not gonna compromise that. That's like respect, because a lot of people in that situation, I mean, I would hope I wouldn't in my respective field, but a lot of people in that situation are like, yeah, I'm gonna, I can be the most famous bodybuilder. I can be that. But you were just kind of like, I started this as like, yeah, I did competitions because I like bodybuilding kind of gave me a sense of purpose, but bodybuilding gave me purpose, not like cheating to get my body, like having to work for it gave you that. So that's massive respect, because you could have been in a completely different, situation right now.
Absolutely.
But I think in the long run, it would have been like you would have compromised your morals, your beliefs, like the things you were taught, that kind of stuff. And so I think, it seems to me like you're happy with the decisions you made. You're still now still able to have a fitness life while chasing that film journey. So I think that's massive respect, because like you held true to your morals, which is something that a lot of people don't get the opportunity to even have that choice of like, all right, come with me, I'll make you the best, but you have to compromise this, and you held that. So that's massive respect.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate it.
And so kind of what does we're going to talk about, you have an opportunity currently possibly with Disney Plus that could be happening. We'll talk about that in just a second, but what is your fitness like? What does your fitness life look like now? Are you still like, you don't compete anymore, so what does your fitness life look like for you?
Yeah, so right now, it's going to the SRC, the Student Rec Center, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, I'm working out, 4 or 5 days a week. And the other days I do like mobility work, right? And so my main thing, when I go into working out is, I prioritize the energy systems, right? So the 3 energy systems of the body are the phosphagen system, the glycolytic system, and the oxidative system, right?
Never heard of any of those.
That's okay.
I've never heard any of those words before.
That's okay. Yeah, no, they all kind of produce, different results, right? So the phosphagen system is mostly associated with, your heavy weight, you know what I mean? Vigorous activity, like short bursts, you know what I mean? So it's most active in like the first 6 to 10 seconds, vigorous physical activity. And then after that, you start transitioning into fast glycolysis, right? Yeah. And so people tell you to consume carbohydrates because with glycolysis, right, you have the splitting apart of glycogen molecules. And then gets converted into pyruvate, right? And then, you get energy or ATP from these systems, right? And so
I've heard of ATP.
yeah, adenosine triphosphate, right?
Yeah, that's the one thing.
Yeah. These energy systems produce energy. You know what I mean? And so my goal is to make sure that my energy systems are running as efficiently as possible. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yet, I still enjoy, lifting heavy. You know what I mean? I still enjoy kind of the technique. I enjoy the feeling I get. I enjoy kind of the, I guess it gives me some separation from, the work I do in film and screenwriting. You know what I mean? Because if I'm writing all day long, I'm going to get a little exhausted, right? Yeah. So it's nice to kind of take a break.
Go to the gym.
Yeah, exactly. Or just get my day started with working out. Yeah. And my mind is a little more clear. My body, my mind is healthy. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it makes life better.
Yeah. That's cool. And so it's kind of like a full circle thing. Like you found fitness. It obviously helped you a lot in your early 20s up until you're 25 with bodybuilding. And now you're able to use it as like an outlet to still take a break from things, but also you still care about how your body looks. You have like a routine, all that. So I think it's really cool how you obviously made that choice to keep fitness in your life, but just not the center of it anymore. So
yeah,
that's really
absolutely.
Cool. And so now I want to transition to what you're currently doing with screenwriting. So it was funny because obviously I saw you every week last semester, but I didn't even know about this Disney Plus thing until my roommate Kabir, who's also in the Daily Tide, and all 4 of my roommates are, but he was like, "Oh yeah, we're doing this profile on Drew. He has a Disney Plus show." And I was like, Drew, like the guy I saw almost every day last semester. Yep. And I was like, bro, you gotta be the most humble guy ever, because bro, you had to. So talk about, because I didn't get to read the article. I knew I was gonna interview you. So tell us about what you have potentially. Disney Plus is dude, Disney owns everything. That's huge. So how did this come about? What is this? Is it a show? What do you have potentially going with Disney Plus right now?
Yeah. So before I answer that, I'll say this. I am a pretty big introvert, and I'm not on social media. I just got on LinkedIn. You know what I mean? So because I felt bad for not having any social media, but social media and I guess advertising myself has never really been my thing, right? So if something happens, then you're probably going to find out about it later because I'm not posting it anywhere. So so I'll start with that. But yeah, no, that came through a friend of mine who works for a news organization in LA. And, we were talking one day and he said, hey, my mentor is, a guy who, works at Disney Plus, and, go ahead and send me a sample of one of your scripts, and then I'll shoot it over to him, and we can see what happens from there. And so I send a sample over. Long story short, he liked it. He liked it a lot. But the first thing he caught on to was that this thing, there's no copyright on this thing. You know what I mean? So I'm like, oh, shoot. You know what I mean? So one of the first things I did was I got a copyright for that script, and then I registered it with the other Writers Guild. So I have that.
It's like it's yours.
It's mine. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is my script, right? So, so that was validating. But another thing that, I was told by the individual who works with Disney is that, look, a lot of times, especially for first-time writers, they don't just buy scripts outright. You know what I mean? They want like a series Bible, and in some cases they'll want like a 5 to 10 minute short film or extended preview or some kind of proof of concept, so that they could see what this thing looks like.
Proof that you can like put it into action kind of thing.
Yeah, because a show will look one way on a script, right? But what actually happens, what does it look like when you actually shoot it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they want a little preview. If they were to actually produce this thing, what it might look like, right? So I'm like, okay, I have, my work cut out for me. So, and another thing too, I think I was talking about it before the podcast, is that a lot of companies, when they buy your script or your project, and I learned this recently, they buy the whole thing, right? So they got the script, the copyright for it, everything. They kind of own it, unless you're one of the very lucky few that gets creative control over your projects. I mean, once you sell it, they own it.
Yeah, they can kind of make whatever tweaks. You don't really have your own control anymore.
Yeah, your name will be on it, like under it would be either like created by or written by, one of those things, right? But they would bring in their own people to direct it, produce it, etc. They would cast it themselves, and so and so that's another thing I had to consider. You know what I mean? Upon getting deeper into the film industry, is that okay? Am I willing to give up creative control, to make a sale? You know what I mean? Like, is that something that I want to do, or am I going to take a chance, on myself, produce this thing on my own, and then maybe get a distributor. Or maybe just, distribute it myself, you know what I mean? Like through a website or something. So that's another thing that, I'm kind of looking at right now. But based upon my past experience with bodybuilding, I know that I need to do everything I can, with what I have to, produce my projects on my own. And I think with that, the right support, the right kind of support, will come. You know what I mean? As long as I do the right thing. But again, just like I didn't want to sacrifice my morals with bodybuilding, I don't want to sacrifice creative control. You know what I mean? With my projects here, right?
It's like it seems like a common theme. Bodybuilding, you had a choice to kind of fast track your way. You didn't want to do that. And then this is, I guess, different than saying take steroids. It's different than signing into Disney Plus, but in a way, you're losing control the same way you are once you start. If you were to say yes to those steroids, things like that, kind of selling your script and not having creative control is kind of like, okay, now this isn't my script. But I wanted it this way, but too late, you already signed off. So it's that kind of thing. Yeah,
you realize that there's a dark side to every pursuit, right? Yeah. In fitness, it's, steroids. And then with screenwriting and film, it's like AI and giving up creative control. You know what I mean? So there's always that thing that's there, you know what I mean, that kind of could potentially disrupt what you're trying to do. But it's like, if you're going in with the right intentions, then you'll find a way to make it through no matter what. So that's my perspective.
Man, that's it's funny because I knew you were obviously knew you were a great person, that's why I wanted to interview you, but just hearing the I guess context of that is you're so strong and tight to your morals, which is that's kind of one of the best things you could ask for. As a parent, raising a kid, you want them to, when they get opportunity when they're later, to stay strong, stay true to what they know, and so that's super cool. And I think it just shows you did your own thing with bodybuilding and that worked out well for you. You're doing your own thing now with filmmaking and screenwriting. And I mean, you haven't completed your master's yet, but you already have kind of interest from like one of the highest, forms of streaming services. So that's that's super great. And so just want to say thank you for coming on the show today. Thank you for sharing, videos of you in blue trunks, sharing your, this is really cool for me to interview you. I think this will be the first like official episode. And so I think this is a great like tone setter of just like how I want the show to go, like have someone that's like, bringing energy and just also I was horrible with scheduling this. I was all over the place. So thank you for being like, for being flexible. Yeah. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate I guess I'm lucky that I was able to like have you as the producer and like kind of build that connection. It was kind of like random that it happened because you were supposed to be a director, but you ended up being a producer. And then because you are a normal looking guy, he'll do sports, So the fact that we ever became cool is kind of like lucky, but I'm very lucky and like blessed to have met you. And I think just hearing your story today, I'm like, wow, like I think I always stick true to like my morals, my faith as well. But I'm like, that's like, I've never had, I guess, like as high of a chance to like compromise that as you've had, and you stuck true to that. So I hope that if those opportunities ever do come from me, which I hope they will, that I'll be able to stick true to that the same way that you did. So thank you for sharing that today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And the thing is, when you stay true to your morals, things are going to be a bit slower, right? It took me 17 years to get here, right? And I am far from a millionaire. I'm not a big time director. I never went pro in bodybuilding, not even in the natural organizations, you know what I mean? So things are going to take, a bit more time, right? But when the time is right, and everything comes to fruition, like you'll be so glad that you took your time and that you struggled, right? And you went through those times where, you didn't feel like you had, enough internal resources to keep pushing, or that, the money was low, you know what I mean? Or no one believes in you, or, life is happening. And, it'll all be worth it. You know what I mean? So definitely take your time. And like I said, when you're staying true to your morals, you know what I mean? It might take a bit longer to get to where you want to be, but it'll be worth it. You know what I mean? So, and then the videos that I'm going to send to you, the first one, the one in blue trunks, that was from my first show. And then the second one that I have, it'll be from a show from 2017. So it'll be like a 4-year difference. Okay. So it's not from my first and second shows. But you'll see like there's a difference, but like I didn't make a whole bunch of progress. I was 180 pounds for both, even after 4 years. So just to, give clarity on that. But hey man, I appreciate you bringing me on the show, man. And I am truly honored to be your first guest. You know what I mean? And, having the opportunity to share my story, man, it's an honor. You know what I mean? And I'm just I'm really happy that we did this. That we finally got to it. I know that the scheduling, you know what I mean, was a little tough, but we made it work. And I'm happy we did it, man. Thank you.
Right, thank you for being here. Thank you to everyone for watching. I was gonna say I'll leave the link to your social media, but I'll put Drew's LinkedIn account because that's the only social media he has. I'll put his LinkedIn account in the description or comments or wherever this is posted. But thank you so much for watching. If you made it to this point, I used to say like leave a like, subscribe. I'm not gonna say all that. But thank you for watching. I hope you were able to be inspired in any kind of way by Drew's story today. And I don't know if you want. There'll probably be another interview posted sometime soon, hopefully. And I hope you have a great day. Peace out, guys.
Later.